Today we're talking about Project Hail Mary, one of the best movies I've seen genuinely in years. I was so emotionally attached. I saw this movie probably like a week and a half ago, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. And I haven't read the book yet, though I now plan to. I want to find out any of the little details that the movie missed. I feel like I've been telling every single person I know to go see this movie, to the point that I put it in my slideshow for a bachelorette party because I thought it was that important that everybody knew about this movie. What a great week for space though. Do you think that they purposefully planned for Project Hail Mary to come out and then like immediately follow it up with the Artemis? It just seems like such planned timing to me. I went into this movie actually completely blind. As someone who really enjoyed Interstellar, I figured I would like this one as well. I think I liked this more than Interstellar. But like, just consider me so pleasantly surprised going into that movie. Because I was expecting, drama and the intensity of space movies, but I was not expecting to laugh as much as I did. I was also not expecting to cry as much as I did. There were so many people online who were like, yeah, I cried 4 different times during Project Hail Mary, and I was like, oh, I started about like an hour in and then just didn't stop crying. It was so heartfelt, you guys. I think a huge part of that, and something that a lot of people who have watched this movie, we kind of felt it. I don't know, I really wasn't thinking about, oh, is this part CGI? Like, I wasn't actively thinking about that during the movie, but I think part of me just kind of automatically assumes that when there's like space stuff like that, a lot of it is just going to be CGI. I didn't know, like they made puppet, like it's all as much practical set as it possibly could have been. And I think a lot of people are realizing that that is what gave a lot of heart to this movie, and I absolutely love it. And while I do plan to read the book, I feel like it might take me a second. So I still wanted to talk about the movie, like go through some of the scenes, discuss, hear your thoughts on it. My understanding was that this was, generally speaking, a pretty loyal book to movie adaptation with a couple changes. If you don't want any spoilers on Project Hail Mary, this is your time to leave. We're going to be looking at the scenes that are already out, but discussing the movie as a whole. So if you need like a brief synopsis, if you don't want to go in blind, the movie is about a school teacher who sort of wakes up from this like medically induced coma to realize that he is in space and that he has been sent up there to solve the problem of our sun dying. There's these particles called astrophage that are eating stars actively, and he ends up running into an alien who is also trying to solve the same problem, and they need to team up and work together. But it's adorable. It's definitely found family type of trope, while also being very, very dramatic. And obviously it's very beautiful. If you're waiting for it to come out on streaming, I feel like this is one of those ones where I'm like, it's really actually worth going to see in the theaters just because the expanse of space is before you. I don't want to give too much else away. There are some really intense and dramatic twists in the story. So if you have not seen it, if you don't want to be spoiled, this is your time to go. Goodbye.
His eating habits are exotic.
Grace looks disgust when eat.
How do you look when you eat?
It look beautiful.
Show me. Oh my God.
This actually, I heard, was one of the changes, and I feel like it's one of those changes. Sometimes book to movie adaptations make changes for the screen that I feel are good. Like, normally I do want line for line, please turn this book into a visual film, but with something like this, I think it really adds a little bit to Rocky's character, because what I've heard from readers was Rocky's actually pretty self-conscious about the way that he eats and acts and things like that, whereas with this one, he's like, it's beautiful. I love Rocky's character. I feel like he's very much a cross between like a dog and a toddler, but also like a guru type of character, like a really energetic and talkative Yoda is where I think we land with him. And I absolutely love it because there's this playful side to him that he doesn't even realize is quite like as cute as it is.
Personal space.
It's FA Premium.
Who is Grace talking to? Question.
You can hear this.
Yes, Grace say you can hear this. Yes.
Oh my God. Look at this. Look how far away. That is where he is.
Hello, Grace.
He's right here.
Hello, Grace friend.
This is what I mean by like the feeling of Rocky being almost like a loyal dog. This trend on TikTok is cracking me up because people will be saying the part that Grace says and then they'll pan the camera over and their dog or cat is just like right there, and it's so funny. But it is, I think they gave Rocky these characteristics that so many of us can really relate to through our pets. And I think that's something that makes Rocky even more lovable to us, is that we have those emotions that we can bring into it.
That is a great question. Try this.
Why is a school teacher in space? Question.
No.
Don't like that voice.
Can't unhear it, really.
Scary.
Oh,
Nope.
why is
Nope.
school
Why is a school teacher in space?
I mean-
It has charm, but no.
Why is a school teacher in space? I like.
All right. And in answer to your question, I have no idea what I'm doing in space. I don't remember.
I loved him as the British man, but I think the one they ended up on was better. Though I think this is like such a good moment in the writing. I feel like I try to look out for this more in movies. There's both this contrast of us doing something kind of fun, like finding Rocky's voice and figuring out who he is, while also getting this background on Grace. Now we saw it, obviously, when he wakes up and he's trying to figure out who he is and why he's in space. And they did such a good job with that scene of him opening up and like realizing where he is, that he's in a spaceship, and that moment of panic. Because I can't imagine. That's something that I loved when we see him trying to figure this out. It's a blend of this like extreme sorrow when he finds the bodies of his crewmates, and then he's also trying to figure out who he is while being in space, while drinking himself under a table because it's a pretty stressful situation, and running around being like, am I smart? Like that line had the entire theater cracking up because it's such an absurd thing to find yourself in, but they also made it in a way that it was like you can feel the actual panic and him going through the pictures of the people that he was supposed to be crewmates with, and we're wondering why he doesn't remember. We're wondering like what's happening with these gaps in his memory, and the way they pieced it together with these flashbacks and how he figured it out was just so good, because I hate an info dump, and there was no point in this movie where the flashbacks felt like an info dump, which is extremely difficult to do. If like all of Grace's memories came back all at once, and we did, I feel like it works in a lot of stories, but when, you know, the character has this revelation of like, oh my gosh, all my memories are back, and we just see these rapid clips in a row of what happened, it would not have hit us the way that it did when we come back and we very late in the movie get this scene of him trying to run away from those guards. I can't imagine the panic, like when he was running because he realizes he's going up in space whether he wants to or not. That being so late in the movie was such a good and powerful moment. It is so cute when he puts up this little doll, like so incredibly cute.
My ship.
So this is like one of the coolest scenes because it is like first contact with Rocky, but then at the same time it was such a frustrating scene to me because I was like, there's no way that this is what the alien means. Like there's no way that he got you all the way over here and now he wants you to just go back to your ship. But I also understand like this is the only thing that he could have really understood from this.
But I just got here. Look, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Honestly, good on Grace for not having a panic attack. I would have lost my mind. Now this, because I didn't know what I was watching going into it, when I saw this scene, this is the moment where you're like, oh no, please don't let this turn into like a really cheesy, weird movie. When he knocks on the glass, obviously we don't see the full like puppet of Rocky at that moment, and I was like, why? I was concerned that the movie was gonna take a turn where I didn't want it to go. When he first sends, y'all, the funniest scene, when he first sends over that little thing showing where he's from, like what planet he's from, and he sends that little like canister across space, and Grace doesn't catch it, and so they send another one, and it's just like super slow through space, and Grace is like, right, they think I'm so stupid that I couldn't catch it. I thought that scene was so funny. We see how Rocky made those things. It's clear that he's an extremely smart like artisan and scientist and stuff like that, and seeing this scene when he's made all these little figurines, I'm like, how does he have a 3D printer on his spaceship? I'm confused how the spaceship is even built because it's like all those long, it basically looks like spaghetti. This is right after the scene where we get to see the full spaghetti ship and it's up against Grace's ship and Grace tries to move and it tries to move and like this, and I feel like it immediately shows us like what type of person Rocky is, and it was very, very cute. Like, I just absolutely loved it. I ended up wanting this scene to be a little bit longer because I obviously wanted to see what Rocky looked like, and then also like the tunnel thing, honestly, good on Grace for walking out there because I don't know if I would have done that.
Hi, Grace.
This is my favorite scene in the whole movie.
So Rocky no die in Grace atmosphere. I come up.
Oh, you're coming up.
He made himself a hamster ball.
Grace and Rocky, big science. How to kill astrophage together.
I keep going this way?
This room's boring.
Science, save Earth, good plan.
What this down here question? Amaze, amaze, amaze. Rocky want to see human technology.
Dirty.
Dirty. Why room for next question?
expecting company, was I?
This is one of my favorite like scenes that's going around on TikTok right now is people are just using every part of this clip as audios. And this is what I mean when it sort of feels like when Rocky comes onto Grace's spaceship, the sort of like toddler aspect to him where he's just running around and we're not sure how to contain and like, where are you going? And he's like, I just want to see everything. I want to touch everything. And it's so cute. I love that he made himself a hamster ball that he could travel around in. And I'm sure like you've seen by now the behind the scenes of how they did this. It was like the puppeteer had an actual ball of this and he was just like going around the spaceship and like making it look like a real kind of stumbling Rocky. And it was so cool how they did that. And it's so funny the way that he like speaks. Rocky and Grace do big science. That's his whole play. He's like, save Earth, save Aaron, good plan. And it's like, it makes him sound like he's not as smart as he actually is. And so it's really fun to kind of like, once we start really working with Rocky to see his expertise coming through. And Rocky's clearly an extrovert. He has no plans of leaving now that he's on Grace's ship. The part that people are using a lot on TikTok is the like, dirty. Ugh. We're showing our own spaces on TikTok with that.
Object approaching.
See this scene right here, when the tunnels were coming out, I was like actually terrified.
Everything on this planet will go extinct, including us. Dr. Grace, the world is counting on you.
See, and because I didn't see this trailer, I've seen it now. I didn't see this trailer, and the part where he's like dancing back and forth, I feel like that would have given me a little bit more info heading into the movie of what type of friendship these two are gonna have. But like seeing this in theater the first time, I was cracking up. It was so cute. Oh, the little laugh is so cute.
I'm Grace. I'm gonna call you Rocky. We're here for the same reason. His son is dying too. If we're gonna save our planets, we have to learn how to communicate. Check this out. We have about 250 words. Let's find you a voice.
Why is the school teacher?
This part, it was so cool, like how he figured out how to communicate with him, because I think like the idea is that this is echolocation, because we see later Rocky can't actually like see things that aren't textured. That's why he says like the room is boring when it goes through the one room with all the cool stuff in it where you can see like waves and stuff like that.
It is time go.
I think you're being go time, pal.
So this is sort of a look at the going fishing
There
scene.
are infinite possibilities for this to go wrong.
I'm gonna pause this. Okay. First of all, the fishing scene. The background soundtrack, some of you are using it as background for work. How are you not like just in a constant state of anxiety? That scene, you could hear a pin drop in the theater. That was literally, it was such an intense scene. It was so well done. And it was so like, it's so beautiful. The way they set it up. It looked amazing. But it was also one of the absolute scariest scenes ever, especially when things start to go wrong. Like when he starts to lose his fuel, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And then also in this trailer, we get to see, I don't know if it was like a practice launch or what was going on, blow up. And that meant that the astronaut that was supposed to be in Grace's spot, the scientist, died. And that only left Grace. Now, conspiracy theory time. If you've seen the TikToks, there are some people who think this was a purposeful act by the red-haired lady, I forgot her name. What do you think? Because I think they made a good argument for it. Apparently, at the end of the movie, that character has like a tattoo or something on her that I didn't see it, so I'm not really sure. But theoretically, the tattoo was meant to kind of symbolize that she had done time in prison, theoretically, for her work in this project. And that's part of the reason they have to be on a ship, is because maybe some of the things they're doing aren't so legal, which was interesting. Like, we see this character, she seems very quiet and introverted, but obviously she's willing to go to whatever lengths to get this done, even if it means doing it illegally. I mean, she ordered the call for Grace to be knocked out and placed on a spaceship against his will. She's not above doing somewhat sketchy things for what she believes to be the greater good. You know, did she get put in jail for that? Did she get put in jail for, like, other parts? Was she convicted theoretically of murder of this person to make sure that the only option was Grace? Because that's the theory, is like maybe the entire time the plan was to send Grace up, and she set up that explosion so that he was presented as the only option. And then when he says no, she's like, sorry, I've already made this decision. Let me know your thoughts. If that's in the book, let me know. But I just thought that was so interesting. I was like, I would love to know more about this.
This ship wasn't built for this.
Okay, so this is part of the scene where the going fishing scene goes wrong. It's absolutely terrifying. When Grace gets like smushed up against all of the screens and he's fighting to stay conscious, but he can't. And at this point, that's when he's more worried about Rocky than himself. And so you sort of see that switch in him of mainly going from worrying about himself to seeing Rocky as almost being more important. But it's because he's built this extremely strong friendship, which he didn't really appear to have on Earth. And then obviously Rocky feels the same way. When he burst himself out of that little bubble, I lost it. That's like when I really started sobbing, because you see him running around the spaceship with all that, it looks like smoke coming off him, but it seems to me that that's him not being able to breathe, and he manages to get Grace hooked up to all the medical machines before he passes out. I thought he was dead. When Grace wakes up and puts Rocky back in his little ball thing and is sitting there talking to him, I truly thought he was talking to the corpse of Rocky, and that we were going to be returning to Earth with Rocky's corpse. And I was not prepared for that situation. When Rocky woke back up, it was like yet another round of just extreme sobbing. The little pictures, which my guess is those were from Grace's students, when he puts those pictures up on Rocky's dome, I could not.
Hey, stars. We can go home.
I think this is a one-way trip for me.
Okay, there's that line of, I think this is a one-way trip for me. Oh my god. When we are talking to Rocky, Grace is sort of, has not really, because we see it, hasn't really made his peace with the fact that he's never going back to Earth, that he's gonna, try and stretch out his food on the spaceship and then he's going to die. Because going up originally, all three astronauts, not Grace, had an understanding that this was a suicide mission. Their goal was to save Earth, but they wouldn't be returning, and they were really brave about it. And I feel like that's something that makes Grace's character really relatable, because I think, given that choice, we all hope that we would make the choice to self-sacrifice. But when Grace is like, there has to be someone else, look, I just can't do it. Like, that's his most human moment of the movie, and I think it makes his character more believable, because he believes all this stuff, he knows all this information, but he can't get himself to go. And so when he gets up there and he realizes the choice has been made for him, and he's talking to Rocky, and Rocky's clearly way older than Grace. He's been with his mate for like 100-something years. So when he says he's not returning back to Earth, and Rocky is like, my entire crew died, but I can get you back to Earth if I use less fuel and I take 6 extra years to get back to Arid, his home planet. And that moment of bonding between them when Grace realizes, and it's so funny because he says the most relatable thing. Rocky's like, I thought you made peace with this, and Grace is like, that was a lie. Looking at the end of this trailer, we see that lady smiling and stuff like that, because I think deep down, like, she's not a bad person. Obviously, her entire goal is to save the world. She's not a bad person, but that scene, I want to go rewatch the movie and see how she acts in that scene under a closer lens when she sings Sign of the Time by Harry Styles. When she started singing that song, I was like, oh no, like this is gonna be deeply upsetting as like a general story. It was a good choice. Like, it just has such this bittersweet feeling to it, and that's what their leader decides to be her anthem, and almost a send-off to Grace, even though Grace doesn't know that that's what it is. And I feel like that's almost her apology or attempt at consolation, because she knows what she's about to do. And then she goes up and sings this song mainly because Grace kind of like prodded her to. So I really liked that scene. I think there's a lot going on there that I didn't catch the first time I watched it. So it's like definitely something I want to go and revisit. Other scenes that I just loved was when they're celebrating the fact that they figured out how to kill the astrophage and Rocky puts on his little like party suit. It was so cute. And then like potentially the most devastating thing, because we say our goodbyes and it's really sad when Grace realizes that the astrophage is able to eat through that specific material that it was trapped in, and then he's making the log system, like when he's making the video logs. Every single one of those scenes was so good, but this one was like, you just feel your heart drop because he's talking and he's like, and that's what Rocky's ship is made out of. And if I don't go tell him, he's going to be dying a slow and painful death. But for Grace to go tell him that, he is fully now expecting himself to die. Like, it's a self-sacrificial choice for him to do that. You know, the choice that he wouldn't make at the beginning of the movie, a clear character arc. And when he shows up and he finds Rocky, and Rocky doesn't show up for a minute, it feels like, oh my gosh, we just wasted our one shot of going back home. Rocky's already gone. We're not going to save him. That whole scene was just so terrifying. And thank goodness Rocky was fine. They fix everything, and Grace sends all of the information they need back to Earth, which, first of all, I love that scene when we send everything back to our lady who's head of everything, and she's watching these videos of Grace talking about Rocky and showing Rocky, and she's just like laughing. It's such a heartwarming moment because you can tell that Grace has forgiven her, because obviously that was not where he was emotionally when he got sent up. And he says something along the lines of like, oh, you're smart, you'll figure it out, which is basically what she had said to him before sending him to space. And then at the end we get to Rocky and Grace is right there, and they're together on Arid, and it's so incredibly sweet. They fixed Grace's spaceship so that he can go home should he choose to. Grace is like, I don't know, I want some time to think about it. And Rocky's just like, take as much time as possible. It's so cute. Because Grace primarily, when he starts off the movie, he's teaching like 6th or 7th graders about space. And it was such a good introduction, especially for people like me who I don't read like a ton of sci-fi. So for them to introduce the idea of astrophage using the classroom in a way that makes it easily understandable was very appreciated, because sometimes I feel like with sci-fi movies, there's kind of a background understanding that a lot of the people who are watching the movie are already sci-fi fans and they're kind of familiar with some of these concepts. And so it was nice to have it broken down very quickly, that we could understand where we're at and what's going on extremely fast, because he's explaining it to students who also have no background in what's going on. And then it ties in nicely at the end when he's now teaching the kids of Arid about Earth and space. And it was just like, it was such a cute tie-in. I absolutely loved it so much. I kind of like that they left it up to interpretation at the end. If you've read the book, please let me know. Do we get a documentation of him deciding to go back to Earth, or does he stay on Arid forever? I feel like it would make the most sense for him to eventually go back to Earth. It was either going to take like 6 or 11 years. Like, it was going to be a long time for him to make his way back to Earth. And he's still undecided if that's something that he even wants to do, because it seems like he feels more at home with Rocky and on Arid and stuff like that. And that just seems like almost a better fit for him. But at the same time, I don't want him to not go back to Earth. So it was interesting. I'm glad we left it there and we didn't have to like add a nice bow of him going back and seeing Stratt again and stuff like that. I feel like it would have made the movie feel a little too long and a little too like, okay, let's wrap it up in a bow, which normally I would like, but I kind of liked this slightly bittersweet ending that we got at the end. I'd love to hear any and all thoughts you had about it. I've just been kind of obsessed with this movie. Me and my friends are now just saying amaze, 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 everything. It's been so fun. Like, it really does feel like such a little fangirly moment. So I definitely want to read the book, and then when the movie comes out to streaming, I would love to do a full-length reaction, because I just did genuinely enjoy this so much, and I'd like to go see if some of those kind of conspiracy theory notes that I've seen on TikTok hold up when rewatching. If you've read the book, what are like the major changes that they made? Did they make you mad, or were you like, it makes sense, like, checks out that they did this? It seemed like the writer was really involved in everything. Like, maybe they just brought him along for the press tour, but I've seen him in so much of the like stuff of him talking with Ryan Gosling and the creators and stuff. Like, I feel like he was involved, which is always something I love to see when we're making a book to movie adaptation. If you're a big sci-fi fan, like, let me know in the comments what sci-fi books you have enjoyed the most. I feel like I don't read a ton of it. I've read stuff like Ender's Game. I read like half of the Red Rising series so far. I consider Maze Runner to be kind of sci-fi. It's more dystopian, but sci-fi dystopian. And then I've read Chaos Walking. What was the book? The Knife of Never Letting Go. And then I've read through that trilogy. Let me know all the things. Please like this video if you liked it. Click subscribe if you want to talk about more book and movie stuff. My name's Katelyn. Thanks for watching. Bye.